Activist wins right to publish instructions for 3D printed guns. The United States has settled a case with a gun rights activist that permits him to publish instructions for making guns with a 3D printer. Activist Cody Wilson began legal action against the government in 2015 after it forced him to remove files he had placed on the internet. The files provided directions for making a handgun with a 3D printer, which he referred to as downloadable guns. Wilson had made such a gun himself and had successfully test-fired it in 2013, making him a prominent pro-gun activist. He named the gun the Liberator. Tens of thousands of people downloaded plans to make their own gun, but the US State Department said Wilson's files broke laws on international gun trafficking. Wilson and his legal team argued in court that the State Department order violated Wilson's right to free speech. They noted that the files shared on the internet contained only plans, not weapons or gun parts. Wilson teamed up in the case with an organization called the Second Amendment Foundation. The Second Amendment guarantees Americans the right to keep and bear arms. The foundation recently announced it had reached a settlement with the US government. It said the agreement, offered by the US Justice Department, permits Wilson to legally put his instructional materials back on the internet. The Second Amendment Foundation praised the settlement and called the decision a victory for free speech. They believed the settlement represented a major defeat for groups seeking to increase government gun controls. A message on Wilson's defense distributed website announced his plans to relaunch the website DefCAD on August the 1st. This will permit him to freely share instructions for making 3D printed guns. The DefCAD website currently lists information on a number of other 3D printed weapons, in addition to the first gun introduced in 2013. These include the semi-automatic models AR-10 and AR-15, as well as a Beretta M9 handgun and others. Gun control activists and supporters are expected to oppose the settlement. They have argued against 3D guns because they can be made without the usual government registration requirements. These guns also do not have manufacturing numbers for identification purposes. Since there is no record or history for guns created this way, they have also been called ghost weapons. Wired magazine has named Wilson on several of its yearly lists of the most dangerous people on the internet. Wilson told the magazine the new website will accept instructional materials from users as well. His goal is to provide a searchable, user-created collection of information on how to make any firearm. Wilson's organization and its activist friends also sells some weapons that are 80% complete. He explains in a website video that because they are 20% unfinished, he is permitted to sell them as pieces of metal instead of guns. Buyers of the unfinished firearms can then use their own equipment to complete the weapon.